Today's episode is packed with insights from entrepreneur Angel Perez. We're diving into the world of management, luxury car rentals, and the art of long-term gains.
Yeah, so my name is Angel Perez. I'm an investor out of South Omaha, Nebraska.
From South Omaha, Nebraska. So you grew up in Nebraska?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Born and raised.
Nice. So how did you get into investing? How did that happen?
I got into investing after my cousin was exposed to it, like they call it a mastermind, but at that time it was a scam, really. But he was exposed to one of those masterminds that was just essentially like a grand pitch. So then he can join like a mentorship of like, 50 grand or something like that. I don't want to say any names, but there's like those out there. He joined one and he really was inspired by that to get into real estate investing. And just being around him, me and him grew up almost as brothers. It just kind of got off on me rubbed off on me. And from there, we just started exploring different ways of how we can start providing value to these people that we wanted to be like. So that's really how we got started, man. It was like my cousin stumbling into that, that pitch. And then from there, gaining more curiosity, being around me, talking about it a little bit around me and my other cousins. And then just started brainstorming together how we can, start providing the value to these people.
Well, let me touch on something before all of that. What was your life before you got into all of this new entrepreneurial path? What was all the hardships? What was life like then before you decided to do all of this?
So it was probably a lot of just soccer, messing around in my community, and just honestly, it was like it was soccer and it was a lot of fun, but the fun wasn't always like legal fun, or it wasn't always being productive to society. So that's like what it was before that, man, for sure.
Do you want to get into the nitty gritty? Because this
No
is
way,
the
bro.
raw, this is the raw
moments here, man.
podcast.
Yeah,
man.
fire away, bro. Because like, it's kind of hard for me, like myself, to get into like sensitive spots, if like depending on how deep y'all want to go, or like where you want. So I mean, ask some questions, bro, and I'll get to blabbing.
Okay. Well, I guess.
Was it partying then? Were you just, you like to party before you got into investing?
Nah, just drinking. Like we were over here in South Omaha. It's a pretty small community, so it's like there's a lot of hoods over here. So there used to be a lot of gangs when I was smaller, and so we would more when we were doing bad stuff. It was more of like so it always had to do with soccer. All the Latinos played soccer, so it would be like after soccer games, before soccer games, where these guys that were way older than us and knew a lot more worse stuff than us would get us to start hanging out with them. So it wasn't really partying. It was just a little bit more being like, what they call those menace societies, like graffiti, trying to find other people to mess around with. At first, I was still an entrepreneur, bro, but I was like stealing skateboards and stealing bikes, like I told you before, and flipping those. But that's the type of trouble that we would get into.
Were you in a gang? How
No.
were you making majority of your money back then, before this, going the legal route, I guess?
Wait, legal route?
Yeah. Because you said you were an entrepreneur, but you were stealing stuff. Like, how were you making a majority of your money before you started doing the legal way of making money?
Yeah. So my first hustle was I would go to Family Fun Center every Sunday, and my dad would take me, and we would go, and I would win prizes, and I'd try to get guns, or I'd try to get like darts, or I'd try to get not real guns, obviously, the little play guns and stuff, and I would sell them at school. That was my first hustle. That was in kindergarten, and that got me kicked out of the school that got me kicked out of the school that I was at, man. So it was tough because all my other cousins were at that school. I had to move. That was the first hustle that I had. The second one was me and my cousin. We started taking skateboards from our neighborhood, and we would flip them. So we would just paint them up, make them brand new, and then sell them at school the next day. My next hustle after that's funny. I was about to make a video out of this too. My next hustle after that was the same thing, but with bicycles. So we were those kids, like if you left your bicycle out, we were scouting the neighborhood, Like if it was around us, we were gonna take it, we were gonna flip it, and then we are gonna sell it from other people. After that, bro, I started leveraging soccer. So I started like helping kids like play soccer, because at this point then I was becoming more known for soccer. After I started, we kind of like yeah, after we started getting into some trouble with other people that started noticing that we were taking other people's stuff, big brothers and stuff, we started trying to see how we can venture out of that. So no stealing. We were like, no stealing. Let's try to do something else. Well, then we started providing a service that was we would train people with soccer. So that was the next one. Then after that, that's where we kind of got into like we got into just really nothing. Like we were just soccer players and nothing. We had nothing else to do with entrepreneurship, just straight soccer. We were committed. This is when we wanted to get out of the place we were at, and we were using soccer to do that. But like I said, man, then when soccer didn't work out, like I hit that identity crisis, Like I really didn't know what to do. Like in my head, I was like, shit. I knew how to steal. I knew how to, do all these illegal things to make money. And now soccer's not making me the money that I thought it would. Well, then that's where my cousin, it was like 2019, he had stumbled across that ad that put him in that place. And then we really started getting into, okay, well, what is it making money? What's making real money?
What was the mindset shift there? What caused the mindset shift there?
I think it was just, it was actually, I actually can remember the exact time. It was a time when my dad had made a check out of a contract that he had in his construction company. And he was really upset that he had made that check. And I was like, it was on the side of his bed, and he was kind of sitting on the edge of his bed with his feet hanging off. And he just had his hands inside of his hair. And he was like, I was like, Dad, why are you upset? You just made this big ass check. And he told me, he's like, Mijo, it's because every time I make these checks, they just go down and then down and then down and down. I have to go out there, I have to bust my ass again, and then it goes down and down and down. And that really gave me that gave me so much, what is that, conviction? Like it just made me feel, that conviction to be like, damn, like I really want to be able to help my pops, especially, I felt like that was kind of like a thing that I had to do when I saw him that tired. And so, yeah, that's like what really shifted my mindset to start. What we really first wanted to start doing, me and Fitas, was we wanted to stop using what we learned from the people that we learned it from. So we learned from people that made money were assholes, or people that made money were greedy, or people that made money were, we just didn't like them. So that's the first thing that we wanted to shift inside of our mindset. We're like, let's stop hating on people that we might want to be like, which is people that have money, right? That's the first step. And after we started shifting that mindset, that's where we could really like start collaborating into like, okay, how can we provide value? And the first way that I provided value, and the first way, actually, my cousin Fitas, you'll hear me mention him a lot. You've heard me mention him, Patrick. He's the first person that really showed me like what it was like to be someone that can connect and start leveraging people, leading with value, man. Like once we started really breaking down that limiting belief that, wealthy, if we were going to be wealthy, we were going to be greedy, we were going to be mean, we were going to be liars. Then he really started really nailing down that leading with value by actually working with local flippers as a free contractor handyman, just so he can just see how they're analyzing the properties, what they're doing to generate the leads, and that type of stuff. And once I saw him jump into that, bro, I kind of got that competition spark too, right? Because that's my cousin. Like, I'm not just going to stay behind. We both were coming out of the same place. I did the exact same thing as the closest place that I could. And that was like the same thing. It was flippers. It was just flippers that were around me that I knew construction and I knew how to sell roofs. So I was like, yeah, let me get around flippers. Let me become a handyman. If I need to do some roofs in there, if I need to help, do some stuff for free, I'll do it as long as I can see how these people are thinking and where they're at.
But you were faking it to make it. You weren't really a handyman at that point.
No, bro, I'm still not a handyman. Like that shit was hard, bro. And especially for free. I hate doing stuff for free, bro. Yeah. And I was doing I guess it wasn't for free because they were letting me stick next to them, right? But yeah, we were working our ass off, bro.
So how are you finding these flippers?
REIA.
Okay.
So we joined. So Fitas Fizi joined the REIA again, dragged me along. He's like, come on, bro, you got to get in here. These are where these people are going to be. These are the people that we want to be like. And then, yeah, we found some of those. And plus kind of my dad's network, since he was a contractor, he had a network of flippers. And so there were some contracts that he was working on that he didn't know were flips because he was just doing like one part. He was subbing something out in there. But I would go in and I would see the owner, and then I'd be like, hey, man, like, what do you do? And as soon as my dad saw that me and Fitas would always be connecting with the owners while we were visiting some of his job sites and stuff like that, then he started connecting with the owners, and he would just come to us and be like, hey, this guy flips too. Hey, this guy does this with these houses. Hey, this guy does this. And we would just make that effort to, reach out to them, to try to find them on Facebook, to try to contact them and stuff like that. That's how we
And
really
did you get one good flipper that was showing you everything, showing you the ropes, showing you how to get
Not
a
really,
permit?
bro.
Or was it just like
No, most of them, I mean, Fitas had one good, like, pretty, like, mentor, I guess you could call it. He was being mentored by him by like 2 months, and then he started working for them. But mostly than that, like, it was tough because you had to kind of like extract the knowledge yourself. Because the ones that we went in, the flippers that we went in, actually, like, if I were to see now, were really egotistical. We're really like, they would use us a lot more than maybe, someone that's working for free would be used and stuff, which, again, I was just trying to extract the knowledge I could. But there wasn't really like ever any like flipper that would really sit down with us and like talk to us about like, oh, this is, the concept of the business. This is how the money moves inside of our business. So it was like that effort of, trying to be there before the job starts so you can hear him talking to his team, right? So you can hear him talking about budgets and stuff. And other than that, I will say Bigger Pockets was a big help, bro. Bigger Pockets was where I can ask like a lot of questions, and a lot of other people would be responding with what I would think. Oh,
just keep going, brother.
Oh, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bigger Pockets, that was huge, bro.
What were you doing during this time that you were working for free? How are you making ends meet?
Bro, I didn't really have any
skateboards still, or selling bikes and stealing bikes, or what?
Nah, I wasn't doing that much. I was getting paid a little bit in soccer from when I was playing pro, and I would be able to put a little bit away, but I didn't really have like any ends I had to meet. Like I didn't have any bills, bro. I didn't like food. I would just get what I could like at my cousin's house.
Were you still with your pops at this point, living with them?
Yeah, I was still living with them. For sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, at their house. So yeah, I didn't have any really like any bills and stuff like that, bro. I was just I wasn't really worried about money. I was trying to like change my mind. I knew that I wasn't seeing things clearly because like I've seen now, of course I wasn't seeing things clearly. But that's what I was like really, really into that. And so it didn't really matter like food, shit. My mama would still make food, she would make my food. I didn't have any rent. I didn't have any bills. I would hang out with my friends that would pay for me, like if we were doing anything that were like extra and stuff. And so yeah, it was just really about extracting as much as I could out of them.
And what occurred after this? After you were learning from these flippers, what was the next move on your end?
The next move on my end was to I wanted to learn sales. I started learning that like sales was a really big skill in business. And I was like, okay, let me learn sales. And so I started getting my friends together so we can go door knock. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to sell roofs for my dad's company. I'm just going to add him another stream of income. And so I did. We went door knocking. Like that's what we would do. Me and my friends would go door knocking. I would offer them a commission if one would go through. Would go where the storms had hit, especially. So I would do all that research. I'd get all the folders together, I'd get them the scripts and stuff, and I'd 4 of us would just go and just knock those places. I ended up closing like 4 roof deals. This was in a span of like, bro, I was a terrible salesman. This was in a span of like 2 years, bro. So 4 roof deals, yeah, it was, bro, I was terrible, but I was door knocking, so I was just out there fucking in front of these people, So I sold 4 roofs. I sold 3 concrete jobs, and then like another kind of a remodel. So it was all right. I was still 18 right there, but like I was trying to manage people like as like sales teams, right? So I was like just offering. I wasn't even offering them W-9s. Like I was just like, you'll just get a cut out of it. Like you'll get this, you'll get this.
Mhm.
And so yeah, that's what we did. That's what we did after that, bro. That's what had happened. And then I got into my first consult. That
And then you
was
got into your first what?
consult.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that was for that business that my dad had created to do that, the UNMC door business. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah. Tell us a little bit about that so that I
Um,
can understand what this equity deal is.
For sure. So, bro, that one was so sick. So this is how everything went down. So I had just gotten done like with my last year of doing that, like, you know, salesman kind of managing. Also, I was like a project manager for a lot of his jobs. So I just kind of really started working what we call like the back end of like a technician. You know, I would do like the invoicing. I would go and make sure everyone has W-9s filled out, make sure that, you know, things that are going on, things are going good. And so he was like, hey, Angel, you know, my dad had this tendency of just like starting brand new LLCs for every single business. And I don't know if this had to do with like something like of hiding from the IRS or what. I don't know what it was, but he was starting a new LLC. But this one, he was starting it with partners. And he's like, well, we need a new LLC because I need these partners in because they can get this type of grant. I mean, bond out, a whole bunch of technical stuff like insurance stuff.
Okay. And so what about these partners that your dad got in with?
Well, he was just leveraging different things from them, right? So this was like a major contract that he was getting into, and essentially, like, my dad is one of the best like connectors that I know because that's how he like was able to become as successful as he did. Is he would just connect with really important people that can grant, you know, really big contracts to contractors. Like, unfortunately, he was the only contractor in his business, but this time he was like, okay, he needed these partners to leverage different things from him, and he also had consulted with another company to get into this project. So this project was for UNMC, and it was fixing nearly the entire project was a $4 million project. It was fixing 200,000 fire doors inside of UNMC, and that's Nebraska's biggest med school for, I think it's cancer. I don't know. I don't want to say anything that's wrong, but yeah, it's a huge med school here. It's like the most prestigious here. And so we got into that, and I was working with the other consultants. I didn't really know like what was happening first. I was just, again, like my dad's kind of like project manager, like in there being the person that does the back end stuff. I would learn a lot from the project engineer that we had kind of assigned to us from our general contractors. Right. So this is the general contractors would sub it out to us, and they had their project engineer. I learned so much from him, bro, because he was like the first hint of what I think it now, but like what a CEO might look like, right? Like a high functioning individual, like someone that's on his shit, someone that's there before people are there, someone that's making sure that things are lined up like to the point. I learned a lot from him, and then I also learned a lot from like the first hires that we had. So it was a massive job, bro. And we just, every hire was just coming in and then back out, bro. They would just hate it. They would either not get paid enough, like the work. I don't know if they didn't like the environment because it was in a hospital. I didn't know, but I learned so much from there, bro, because that's where I really started noticing that, like, if I can get this to work like a machine, then this will be beautiful. You know, like if I can get our new hires to be in there, and if I was just so fascinated with like not working, like setting up a system to where I don't have to work, kind of like how the project engineer would do it for us. And so that's what I really started diving into. The first, like when I was going through this, I picked up this book called The E-Myth from Michael Gerber. Are you familiar?
Yes.
That's such a good book. How about you, Mark?
No, I'm not familiar.
Oh, that's such a good book. So that book just taught me kind of Michael Gerber's, you know, principles of why he thinks small businesses don't work, like what he thinks we can do about them in terms of scaling, in terms of quality and management. And I picked that book up for my cousin Fita's house. Again, I was right there. We were kind of brainstorming, you know, like how I can just get bigger stakes inside of this, how I can be like a bigger player inside of this, how this can, like, you know, be my launching pad. And I picked up that book and I read that book, and I was like, okay, I might have like, you know, the string of what can be like the whole yarn ball or whatever. Like this might be it. I started applying like what I learned in that book in just random revenue models that I think would work. So just businesses that weren't real. Like I was like, okay, well, if it were to be like this, because also I should have explained this, but I should have explained this. Michael Gerber talks about creating prototypes like a lot, like just creating prototypes and base it off of something that's successful, right? So I would create prototypes and I would try to create a prototype that emulated something like McDonald's, like anyone can work there, you know? And it just like would be a monster if it were to be. So that was like the first thing that I did when I did this like for 10 days and realized that
How
I
did
was
you do
like,
it? For what? What was the prototype?
oh, so the first prototype was my dad's roofing business. Like I was like, okay,
Okay.
if we were to have this roofing business and it were to be like this, what would it be like? And then my second prototype would be like hit like a car painting business. I'm like, okay, if we were to paint cars, what would it be like? You know, especially any businesses that I had like an interest in, I would just create like a way. And do you want to ask something?
No, I was just gonna say if it was it. Well, you did the roofing thing, but you said you were bad at sales, so it didn't work out as you had hoped it would, right? The other
Right.
thing that you did about the, what is it, painting? You said?
Like car painting. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was
Did you actually do that? Was that actually a
no.
prototype that you brought into
No,
fruition,
I
or?
would, and when I say prototype, bro, I mean in the terms of how well does this revenue model go without you being there? So how can you set up, how can you scale it, or how can you set up a team and where this would make sense and there's a hierarchy in place and even a flywheel that you can constantly be looking into. And that's what I do, bro. I would just set up hierarchies that act like, like I
Yes.
was putting it was bro, it was way off of like topic. Like was putting board members and CEOs and like businesses that would be like, small businesses or that would be less than 500,000. I was just trying to like, get my juices flowing and stuff. But
Mhm.
once did you want to say something?
No,
Oh,
no.
well, once I got into something, bro, like once I felt like I was getting into something, I started applying them to my dad's other projects. Like I was like, okay, let me get out of the UNMC. Let me go manage a concrete job that we have going on. Let me go manage a roof that we have going on. Let me manage this. But I started doing it like how I learned inside of the book. Like I really started doing it by the book. Like that's what I
Okay.
was that's what I was saying. And so I did that. I did that for like 5-6 months. Bro, came inside the UNMC project. I was like a boss, bro. Like I was like, I'm ready. Like I had managed these contractors. I had went through some times where owners were upset, bro, like pissed off. That's actually one of the things that gave me the most confidence is being able to deal with confrontation like that. Like when it's really, really bad and not dealing with it how I used to, like actually being able for an owner and a subcontractor that I really like working with that didn't like each other, get through that. Doing all that stuff, bro, I came into the UNMC project and I told my dad, I was like, I want a bigger part. I want to do more in here. Like, I want you to, step out into our residential, whatever we were doing residential again. He
Mhm.
was like, okay, fine. I hate this anyway. He stepped out. I fell into this point where I was like, okay, it's not as easy as I thought. I still need to hire more people. We don't have enough money in our operating expenses. I was still broke. And I was like, Dad, please come back. Please come back. Like, I need you. I need you to work on it, like physically work on it. I was physically working on it. I was working like from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 8 p.m. Like, bro, sometimes we would be there till 1 a.m., bro. They would have to kick us out of the hospital and be like, you guys can't be here anymore. But we had the badges, so we were trying to meet our quotas of doors. And then my dad got we were in there both together again, like I told you, working. He got so stressed that he dropped everything and he was like, you know what? I think I want to go on a vacation. And I was like, a vacation? He's like, yeah. He's like, I think I'm gonna go to Colombia. I was like, okay. So like, what about the project? It wasn't even halfway done. He's like, I think I want to like retire. Like, I don't want to do this shit anymore. And I'm like, oh shit. Okay. So this is a big opportunity for me. I'm like, this is, I can take over this shit. And I was like, okay, well, how about this? Let me finish it for you. And he's like, I don't know. I don't know how it'll fit with the other company that we're consulting with. I don't know how it'll be with the generals. I don't know how to be this. I don't know. Like, you're fucking 18, 19. And I'm like, come on. Like, I know. I read the book. I read Michael Gerber's book. I was like, remember I was out there with the other contractors and stuff? And so yeah, like he was like, I don't really care. Like, do what you want to do. It's gonna be your reputation, if anything. Go do it. And so, bro, that's where I got really, really close to the consulting, the other company that they were consulting with, and really close to the project engineer because I was scared. But bro, right there is when I did my first hire that stayed with me for the duration of the contract. I had done before that 2 sets of 4 different hires. The first set was people that I was close with, that I trusted, that I thought wouldn't stab my back or do things against, that we wouldn't want in the company. That was the first 4 set. That was terrible, bro. Like, I even lost friends in that. The second 4 were just random people, but I didn't have a hiring system. I didn't have a way to put golden handcuffs on them. And so they left right away. They were just like, everyone just stole money from me, I say, bro. Like, they were just either wasting time or like just not doing what they were supposed to, not meeting quotas. And so once I got my first hire, that's where I realized, like, I was, he was an assistant carpenter. And, I was like, okay, that was the first time that I really saw proof of concept. Like, I was like, okay, I put in some work. I went through some failures. I went through, the beginners of this. And now I got my first hire, and he is like excited to be here. There's like some systems in place. He's wondering if he can get like his buddies in here and stuff, which I didn't do because it was a terrible idea. But, yeah, after that, I was able to hire 2 more people. So a master carpenter, he was an assistant, a master carpenter, and then my own project engineer. And so that's how we went out throughout the rest of the contract. And that was my first consult, bro. And I still say it like till this day. Honestly, like, it was just really generous that my dad and those other partners cut me in on it, bro. Because even though till this day, like, I really did help the contract a lot. And, we put it in such a better place than it was when my dad was ready to step out.
Mm-hmm.
I was terrible, bro. Like, it was still pretty shitty, like, on my part. If I would have known the things that I know now, like, it wasn't the best consult that I've done before. I just think my dad was just super generous,
And how long ago was this? This was first one?
This was in 2018. It went through 2018 to 2019.
And what was the payday like on that?
Oh shit, bro. That was huge. The payday was, so I was making 10K a month throughout that time for those 9 months that I was working in there. Wow. And so, like, at the end, it was worth 90,000, bro. But also, there was like, that's also another time where I was getting paid a lot more too, because of I was giving myself a W-2 from the company. So, like you saw, that's where I started kind of setting up things a little bit more. We were able to have a little bit more operations, a little bit more clarity, bro. Because I don't know if you've seen, bro, like, some small businesses, well, most small businesses, like, the clarity of like just the balance sheet or like the P&L is insane. Like, we had no idea if we were even making money. We were working our ass off every day, but we were like, are we even making money? And so, yeah, like, that was the first time that we really were able to start building some stuff and where we can start really growing off of now. Because at first we were just growing, bro.
So what were some of the learning experiences you took away from that very first project?
So onboarding processes, for sure. Hire processes, like how to keep someone in your business. That was the biggest thing, because so what we had to do is we had to fix these doors. We had to correct them by, by fixing their hinges or by fixing other hardware that they had on them. We had quotas to meet every day. It was 10 doors a day that we had to meet. I couldn't do that shit by myself. I was up since like 6 a.m. setting up all the stuff that we had to, like I told you, doing 12-hour days, sometimes a lot more than 12-hour days. And still, even those days, you would spend like, sometimes the door would take you like 30 minutes to fix, but sometimes the door would take you 5 hours to fix. And so meeting that quota was almost impossible without some help for me. And so just hiring people and being able to keep people on your team and motivated was the biggest thing I think I took away from that project.
Got it. And now that you're done with that project, what are you moving on to now? What is your biggest money makers now in the entrepreneurial path?
My biggest money maker still to this day, well, I consider it to be the rental property that I have, just because of tax benefits and, other ways that we make money that's not like, in my pocket.
So how'd you acquire that? How'd you acquire that rental property?
That was FHA.
Okay.
Yeah, so we did FHA, and then we had a private lender give us our down payment for that.
Okay.
And then, yeah, we were really close to the mortgage lender that was helping us out. So, yeah, he helped us out a lot. And, yeah, we got it.
How did you rehab it?
No, it didn't need any rehab.
Oh, okay.
We painted it, which was like, now we look at it and we're like, fuck, we would have never painted that shit. Like it was good to go. Like as soon as it was there, it was one of those, I don't know if you heard, it's one of those the idiot tax. You pay in time or you pay in money, but you're gonna pay the idiot tax if you
Yeah.
make the wrong decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
What
that,
do you,
I say that, and then I just have cars on crazy cars out on notes. So that's my other. That's still like what's making a lot of my income.
crazy cars? What's this? What's that?
You know, crazy cars. Crazy cars is my luxury car rental, bro.
Okay, crazy
The car
cars.
rental business.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
All
And
right,
then-
let's talk about that. How'd that start?
Oh shoot. So that started after the consult because, like I told you, like the consult seems like all good on on paper, and it's a really cool story to talk about. But like what goes on inside of there can be life changing. Like it changed my life in the sense of how much like I had to work right there. Like I was really trying to emulate those people that I was talking about, like the project engineer, or the consulting firm that was close to me. But after that, I was like, shit, I don't want to work that much anymore. Like I want to make money, but I do not want to work like that. And so we were looking for side hustles. We were like, okay, how can we like earn, like, start putting this money into passive income? I should mention this too. This is this was a thing that I struggled with when I had got out of that consult for equity. I actually, like, now when we had calculated, I think I had spent almost $40,000 on things, like material things that I absolutely have no idea where they're at, or like just nothing. So right there, I was like, holy shit, 40K out of my pocket like that, and I have nothing to show for it. I'm gonna have to go do another big ass contract like that. I was like, no way. Let me try to find some ways in where I can, get some more leverage and get some more money, make my money work for me. And so we had a small bit left after that. We were like, we had a car, we had a Malibu already, and we were like, let's start touring this. Again, Fitas had heard about this idea. Okay, so at this point, Fitas has been a wholesaler now, working with that guy that became his mentor. And then he started working with him, and he was wholesaling for him. And his mentor did Turo, right? So he Turoed 2 cars. It was a Tesla and then a M3. And Fitas was like, yo, he makes this much. He makes me, all I have to do is fill him up and then drop him off at the airport. And then, he's making 200 off of each of them passive. Like that's net passive. He has a note on both of them. And he says he's about to do this with his son's car. And that's how he's going to get a free car. And I had a car. We had paid our Malibu all the way off. And so I was like, oh, well, yeah, let's get it. Let's rent this one out. And so we really just jumped into that head first, bro. Like we were just, okay, let's get the Malibu. Let's put it out there. The Malibu did so well. It did so well. It was at like its peak. It was doing like 700 to 900 net like each month itself, bro. And
Wow.
so at this point, man, like Omaha, I told you, it takes 15 minutes to get from one side to the other side of town here. Fuck the car. I could go on a scooter. I'm running. I'm getting a bike. We weren't even we had no car for this time at all. We were just stacking the money, trying to save it, just all y'all use it. And so we were like, okay, let's take this to the next step. We get another car with that money that we had to save up. This one was financed though. We're like, at this point I had knew how to run a P&L because I had tried to be a flipper and I had tried to be a wholesaler. So I was running like the flipping and wholesaling P&Ls, but I would translate it a little bit to like a car, right? So like if I were to I was in sub 2 here too, so I knew how to analyze a buy and hold a little. So I was just analyzing the car as a buy and hold. And the next one that we got was this one was my favorite one because we were ready to take it to the next step. I was in sub 2 trying to get my first creative finance deal, and I was like, yo, what if I find a car that's creative finance? Like I was scared. I don't know why I was scared of buying a house, bro, but I was like, if I can buy a car, maybe I can practice my sales skills, and then I'll be able to buy a house, creative finance and stuff. And so I find someone that were helping move out of their house. This was Sean's mom's friend that was moving out of her house, and she was like, okay, we're about to move out, y'all. We're about to move out. So they were moving out of a house that they were renting out, and they were going to buy their own house. They're like, we need money. We need money to get into our new house. And I'm looking around and I'm like, okay, like, let me look at their cars. Let me see if I can give them a down payment for a car. and I see a BMW, and this is Sean's mom's BMW. And I'm like, why don't you guys sell this to me? And then they're like, it's going to be 16,000. I think she was asking for it. And I was like, oh, but how much do you guys need to get into your new house? You guys need a down payment, right? You guys are financing it. And they're like, oh, this is how much we need in our down payment. And then I was like, let me give you this down payment, and then let me give you this a month. Seller finance, right? You own it free and clear. They're like, yeah. And I'm like, can you do that? We'll get you to your new house fucking next week. Yeah, okay. Do you want it? It has a convertible? It's a convertible. I don't know. It's in Omaha. You know, we use four-wheel drive here. Mm-hmm. Four-wheel drive, and I wouldn't invest in a convertible, especially as broke as I was, because it snows a lot in the winter. She's like, it's a convertible, it's two-wheel drive. Like, are you sure you want it? I'm like, yeah, it's cool. You know what? And I was just like, let me give you some interest since you're financing me. Boom, eyes lit up. Let's do it. Okay, boom, got my first car, seller finance. So I had two cars right here, but the problem was that one of them was a convertible and a two-wheel drive, and it was about to be winter. It was fall right now. So we're like, okay, we got to take this car somewhere else, you know? And so it was a lot of work now that I think about it. Like, there's so much things that I would have done different. But we were like, okay, let's find somewhere where we have some family members and they can manage this car.
Yeah.
And we were thinking about Florida. We were thinking about Las Vegas. We were thinking about California and then Texas. And we were kind of stuck in between all of them because we did have family members in all of them. And we did have, we were building up a network by joining groups, by joining Turo management groups, like people that were looking for managers or people that were looking to manage. And and we had developed the biggest connections inside of California. And so we were like, okay, we have all these people, you know, that are over here. They're doing these meetups. They're big into our own stuff. Let's see how we can narrow this down by analyzing markets. So that's what we did. We started analyzing markets for Turo. And this was huge right here. At this point, there was this app. Oh, shoot. It's still out here. I bet you it's amazing now. This app, what it did was it would analyze markets. So it would analyze the demands in there. And I would use it. And we were working with the people that were developing it. So then we can say different spots. Like, we're like, hey, we want Omaha. But then they would be like, okay, well, you have to pay this much. And you have to get this much. You know, you have to talk to these people. You have to survey this. So then we can get them to start analyzing the data there. So, but they already had it in big cities like Miami, Las Vegas, LA. And in LA, it was the best market data that they had. And they were like, yeah, this is like where Turo is popping off. This is where, you know, you're going to have the best shares or whatever. These are the cars that you should best use and stuff. And so we use that to determine, okay, we should go to LA. And when we were going to LA, this is when I learned how to raise private money. And so I started raising private money. And I had raised $35K in private money for the startup. And then institutional, I had a friend that was working in Centris, and institutional wise, I raised 80,000 from him. So 80, 90. So
is this to do your car rental business?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is that. And actually, I'm telling you right now, I probably wouldn't have done that now that I'm looking at it, because we have some high ass notes that we're paying the idiot tax on from these from our cash flow, you know, still. But you know, we did it, and we went down there. We went to LA. We met up with all these people. We started prospecting managers. We ended up finding one. We did. We signed a contract with him. We did $50 for each wash, and every time he'd manage a booking. And then I think it was 40-60 after we would make our note. So we gave him access to that, understanding this is our note. I had set up Monday.com, because at this point from that the Fire Door project, I learned how to use Monday, or I learned how to use project management tools. So that's how we were tracking all of our rentals and stuff. And we came back to Omaha, and we started making $200 off of those two. No, $400 passive off of those two cars out in LA. And so we were like, wow, this is going really well. Let's use this. Let's use more of our money. Let's go buy, nicer cars. Let's get into luxury and stuff. And then so we go back down, and we're like, let's see what we want. We end up narrowing it all down. We go through a market study, our own market studies, because again, like I say now, the market studies that I did were crazy, and I consider them market studies. But we narrowed down to a Porsche, to a 718. And we're like, okay, let's get the Porsche. Let's spend some of the money we have. And so we get the Porsche, we put it out there, and this was like the peak of crazy cars. Like we put it out there, and we're staying there for a week while we watch our manager manage it, and we kind of want to see like, you know, how things will be. We're setting up kind of our SOPs while we're there with him, make him, you know, realistic for him and stuff like that. And it just runs amazing, bro. Like this was like the peak of crazy cars. We start making, at this point, our best month, we were making 1,000 passive, bro. And this was us being in Omaha. With the cost of living in Omaha, making 1,000 a month passive, bro, was amazing for us. And all of our stuff was scaled out in LA, bro. So at this point, especially because Shawnee, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, at this point, Shawnee had become like my COO. Like she was in head of operations. She's good at managing.
Who's Shawnee?
Shawnee's my wife.
Okay.
Yeah, Shawn's my wife.
Audience don't know who Shawnee is.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so Shawn's my wife. Shawn's my business partner too. She's in all my businesses. She's the integrator of my business. But I consider us integrators of other people's businesses. So, but yeah, she's really the backbone, bro. And so when she had become the COO right there, at this point, bro, this was amazing for me because all I was doing was just checking the notifications. $400 from Turo to your bank account, $200 from Turo to your bank account, $400 from Turo to your bank account. Shit, the rental rate, bro, like every single car was getting rented like 70 to 80% of the entire month. So everything was going smooth, bro. Everything was going well. And,
was that at its peak, you're saying?
Yeah, that was at its peak.
Okay.
Yeah, that was at its peak. But then it started going down to like it's not peak, like when it wasn't its peak. Right. And like when it wasn't its peak, bro, the one that did the best did the worst. So that was a Porsche. Yeah. So when the Porsche wasn't at its peak anymore, people were not renting it out. It was really bad. And we had.
So what happened? What changed that? Why did it go from things going really well to not so well? Was it a time thing? Was it during COVID?
Yeah. It was right before COVID was starting. It was like, and it was getting into, so when it was peaking, it was November, December, January. So everyone was visiting LA and everyone was like renting out the BMWs and the Porsches to be like, I think we were thinking like to be flashy, you know, to see their family again. They wanted to go out. They wanted to do New Year's and stuff like that in these places. And then February, March, and then April came around. And this was, I think at this point, I'm really not sure. Shawnee would know more. Like when we were, what year this was. So like how close it was to COVID in relation to COVID. But those months in general were just terrible. And so that's like when and so see, if it would have been different now, I would have bought a lot more Malibus because when we had another Malibu over here in Omaha at that point, because we were making that money, that was doing phenomenal too. And so both of our Malibus were like really saving our ass, you know? And that's where we noticed that, okay, there's just a lot of volatility in these cars that are luxury in these times where like people aren't spending money anymore. Because as you guys know, like in December, that's when they buy all the presents and that's where they spend all the money. And then January, February comes back and then people are like grinding again. You know, that's where they're not really like doing anything else. There's no more holidays in there. So yeah, that's what I think it was. But I'm not 100% sure, honestly. At that point, once we got to that point, I started finding ejection buttons. We were like, the whole business was like 9-10 months. Like we were maybe a little over a year, and where I hit the eject button and I started, well, as you guys know, institutional is just like a note without anyone else. So as long as that shit's getting paid, they don't care where it's coming from. I started selling my cars off creative finance too. I started getting seller finance. I'm like, I want to keep a note. I at least want to keep a note. So I just started unloading all of those like that, except the Porsche. I was like, but I want to get that cash back, you know? Because if anything, I can keep 2 cars in here. I can keep 3 cars in here. And those can like, you know, combat my, or not combat. I mean, what am I trying to say? I had
balance out.
Yeah. The notes pay itself. That's what I wanted to do.
How many cars are we talking about here?
So, I had 2 Malibus. I had a Porsche, a BMW, Mercedes, and then the Chevy. This was 8 cars. It was
And how many of those are seller financed out?
4 of those.
Okay. Is that
Yeah.
a difficult thing to do? You know, for
Not
people.
really. It was difficult to try to find the people that I was like, okay, this is the one. That was difficult.
Yeah.
But like I did the first one and it was a lot better than I thought it was gonna be. But the next ones I had to make sure to keep like collateral. I had to make sure to like find a way and where, you're being prospected right to be financed this.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because I've always got a lot of questions about how you sell or finance a car. Is it hard? What's the paperwork? Who do you need to talk to? Who could be, I guess, kind of like, or act as a TC or something for that, because they don't know anything about that.
For sure.
How does that all work? What's the process on doing a sub 2 on a car?
For sure. So I haven't done a sub 2, bro. Remember, I've only done seller finances. I haven't sub 2'd a car.
I thought you purchased one sub 2.
No, bro. So the first one that I purchased that was creative finance was the seller finance. She owned the BMW free and clear.
Got it.
So I've never picked up one sub 2, but I've looked into it. But for sure, I can tell you for a seller finance, it's a lot different in every state. So every state is gonna have like its own kind of system that you're gonna have to go through with the DMV. But what I always tell people is what you want to do is you want to go into the DMV and tell them, I want to sell my car, or my friend wants to sell his car to me through payments. What paperwork do I need to put in place for that? And so for me, bro, what they told me, it was, what was the 3? I had posted them on sub 2. It was I think it was just a promissory note. It was well, I'm not gonna say it, bro. I don't want to say it wrong. I have a post to that, so we can give anyone the link to that post. But that's what they asked for me. But anyone in their own state should go to the DMV and ask them that. And usually what you're going to get is you're going to get people that are going to tell you like, oh, you need to be a dealership if you want to sell or finance a car. Or, oh, you need to have a loan number. Or, oh, one time they told me you need to show me the banks that you're working with, to be able to do this. And you just really got to be this person that is like, no, I need to talk to someone that can help me do this because this is a thing that we can do. Right. Mm-hmm. And when you do that and you get to the person, like a decision maker that can actually, that knows the ins and outs, then it becomes easy. They'll just tell you just paperwork that you need to put it in place and how you need to fill that out. You and the person that you're doing the transaction with, how you guys need to fill that out, and then where you guys need to put that in. And that's it, bro.
Got it.
Yeah. I didn't even use a lawyer.
Okay.
Yeah. Most of my documents that I was doing were on Rocket Lawyer, bro.
Okay.
Yeah.
And has that been profitable for you? Are you cash flowing, like net positive on the, well, I guess if you own the vehicles outright, you're making some cash flow, but compared to renting it out on Turo, how's that as far as an income?
I don't even look at that business anymore. Like, it makes me sad because like, I know that we were so high up at one point, and now I know that our debt service ratio is probably really low. And so it, like, I try to pick it up one time. Like, I heard about someone that was partnering with local dealers, and they would do seller finance. So they would just partner up on that, and they would do stuff like that so they can like act like as a capital partner essentially. But this was where after I kind of noticed that like startups were hard, like really, really hard, and like especially to keep one profitable. So to answer your question, I think we're net maybe like 100, 200, but our main priority is that all of our notes are getting paid. And so like, that's what I tell my girl. I'm like, look, just make sure that all of our notes are getting paid. Make sure that, no lender is calling us, make sure that, everything's in place in that. Other than that, it's all good. But yeah, that's to answer your question now.
And so, how's your wife go along with all of these ideas that you have that just come into play, and you're like, oh, I'm going to do this idea? How does she support that, and what does she think about,
bro,
this entrepreneurial stuff? And aside from just getting a 9-to-5, getting consistent income and just living life, how does she?
I might have to tell you like how it was in the beginning, bro, because in the beginning was tough, bro. It was tough. But I'm really persistent, bro, and I'm really like intentional in what I do. And so I essentially at first, and this was like, if I were to do this over, I wouldn't do this again. I was trying to sell her. Like, I was just really like trying to sell her on like yo, like we need to do this stuff so we can be wealthy. We need to do this stuff so we can be rich. Like if you want to be able to go to the Bahamas, you know, let's do this stuff. Let's do this stuff. But like where it really clicked for me and where I stopped trying to sell and kind of just started saying like, look, these are like my standards was when I realized that like she was someone that I possibly wanted to propose to. I was like, look, Sean, I was like, we're going to have to get some things figured out. Like I'm at this point in my life, you know, I had went through my first consult. I had figured out that I want to be an investor. I had figured out like what I want to do in my life. And I knew that it was going to be really difficult partnering with someone that might have been unaligned with what I was doing. And so I was already like in my head, I was already in love though. I was like, fuck, like how, you know, what if she isn't aligned? Which like I have a lot of friends, bro, that actually like because they weren't aligned with their spouse or their significant other fell out of that, bro. And that's like a super tough thing in entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. Actually, I don't know if we could put this in here, but I'll ask him. Fitas, same thing, bro. Same thing happened with him. And so he was really one of the people that told me, he's like, yo, you got to make sure that this person that you're getting with is aligned to what you're doing, that this person that you're getting with understands, you know, what's going to happen, kind of setting the expectations and stuff. And so that's where I stopped trying to sell. And I was like, look, I'm going to set these expectations. This is how I feel about this. This is how I feel about this. And that was financials and that was our health. I was like, this is what I feel about my health and this is what I feel about financials. And she pushed back, bro. Like she rejected it. Like it was just like, she was like, no. She's like, I'm not house hacking. She's like, I'm living in my own apartment. And I was like, okay, well, like, yeah, good luck. And so what had happened, bro, is I just kind of like, I was just like, okay, well, you know, you just do what you want to do then. Like, good luck. And so she did. She got a W-2. Like she always threatened like she was going to get an apartment. But I think that was because she knew how much I hated paying for apartments or hated paying for like things that I wasn't owning. So she would always threaten that. But what it was, bro, it was when she got the W-2, I was that crazy guy with all the ideas, you know. I still consider myself broke, bro, but I was way more broke right there. And so I was really desperate to come up with new ideas, you know, really desperate to come up. This was like, when was this? Like when she had gotten her job. This was a little bit like, it was during actually when it was the second time that we had come back from LA and we had our manager there. And so she was it was in her peak, bro. It was in her peak of, you know, Turo. So that'll tell you like how hard it was to really like, you know, for her to grasp the concept and grasp the standards of what I wanted. She was like, I'm going to get a W-2. Okay, fine. Go ahead. Go get a W-2. I'm going to work on like whatever we're doing. I'm going to keep crazy cars going and stuff like that. But I would come up with these new ideas when I was hitting these eject buttons and stuff like that. And that's where I would get the, when are you going to be done? Like, it's always the same shit with you. Like, when are you going to get a job? When are you just going to like want to stop doing all this crazy shit? Like, and the biggest thing was, and I'm not like, I don't want to throw, this was just, you know, out of pure emotions. I don't want to throw trash on her because she's like my backbone, I'll tell you. But one of the biggest things was like, you're not making any money right now. Like, yeah, Crazy Cars is making you money, but that we're saving all that up. Like, you're not making any more money. You need to be having a W-2. You need to be having this. And I do think like at this point, I should have maybe, you know, kept working on other stuff like that was making me like active income. But I was trying to work on stuff that was going to make me passive income or things that were going to give me high leverage and stuff. And no, like I was like with 2 months just doing these new ideas, trying to come up with new things, meeting up with new business owners. And she would just push back on every new thing that I was trying to come up with. And so I was like, look, like, I don't really want to go through this anymore. Like, if you want to do it, you know, do it. If you don't want to do it, you don't really have to do it. I'm going to do what I want to do. And that's where I started. That's where I had started trying to like get into my next consult for equity. And I was like, I'm just going to meet with these business owners. So should I get into that real fast?
Yeah.
Okay. Super quick to get into that. I started meeting up with these business owners. I was like, I think 50, 70. I think it was like somewhere within 70 business owners I had met with here in Omaha. I had learned consulting from equity from Roland Frazier. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, just his podcast and all the stuff that he had went through. I had learned that what I did was a consult for a rev share. And so I was like, oh shit, like, you know, maybe I can earn stakes instead of a business this way. And so I was aiming low. I was aiming for low hanging fruit. And I started meeting up with all these business owners. And this was a really difficult time for me and Shani, bro, because this was when she was almost like she was just a COO of Crazy Car Rentals and nothing else. Like we didn't have really anything else for us. I mean, we had our holding company, but that was just saved up money, whatever we had, And so she was, she would push back. I was just this guy hanging around like other guys that were other broke people trying to come up with more ideas or stuff like that, And so like I was a loser for her, I think at this stage and time. And like in my head, bro, I still feel this sometimes. Like I feel this with some mentors, or I feel this like with other people around me. Like, I get that we all get this imposter syndrome, or we'll feel like maybe shit, we don't belong here and stuff. I just put my head down, bro. Honestly, like I just put my head down and I'm just like, just do it. Like it doesn't really matter. Like at the end of the day, like if she wants to, or if she doesn't, if the mentor likes me, if the mentor doesn't like me, if these people think I'm cool, if they don't think I'm cool, put your head down, fucking work. That's all you can do, just do the thing that you talk about. And so that's what I did. I was like, okay, I'm not going to talk to her about it anymore. I was like, I'm not going to say shit. Like if, she wants to say whatever, I'll just put my head down. I'll just work. And so I just did that, bro. Just started meeting up with people, started talking to like businesses that I liked, started aligning it with, I started reading more books about mergers and acquisition. I had read the Build Not Start, or what is it? Buy Not Build. Sorry.
Yeah.
Buy Not Build. Yeah. I had read that, started narrowing down on my acquisition criteria, got into a consult for equity that like we had agreed on the consult. We had worked together for like 4 or 5 months before that. This was a photography. So this was a photography business. So this business did luxury car rental shoots and videos. So that's what they would do for businesses here and other like people that had nice ass cars. So for sure I wanted in on this. I got on it. It was like a consult for equity, like with a startup. So I was like an owner operator essentially. But then my partner had broke his arm, and he was our only photographer at that time. So he broke his arm and he was like, bro, I don't know if I can. So honestly, on my part, this was not.
How did he break his arm? The camera was too heavy or what?
No, bro. He broke his arm playing soccer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he broke his arm playing soccer. But like that, what I think it was still like, a vetting part on something I learned that was really big right there was partnerships and like what it took to really be inside of partnerships. That was like my first kind of like failure in partnerships. And I learned so much from that. But essentially what had happened is like, I feel like in that consult, since he was such in an early stage of his business, I hadn't timed it right into how much I was pouring into there. So it was like kind of like an information / like operational overload. Does that make sense? So when he broke his arm, he saw it, I think, as like a break in where he actually like disengaged and started to kind of like not showing the same amount of effort into what we were doing. So at this point, I was ready to walk away and get into like, another investment. And that's where I really started seeing Abraham Gray all over Sub2. Started getting into his stuff, started like looking at all his videos, all his stuff. He had posted curriculum like a long time. I think like curriculums, I don't know when the videos were I saw, but they were like 2016 type deal and stuff. So I started looking through a lot of those videos that he was releasing and learned a lot from him. And then that's when that mastermind came out, bro.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, okay, like, yeah, for sure. Let's get into some profitable business, let's not get into some startups anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? What are you working on now? What are you working on today?
For sure. So today me and my wife, my COO, my backbone, I say, we invest in indoor sports facilities. So we're out here calling sellers. That's what we're doing today. We just have phone calls lined up, just talk with them, connect with them, vet them. And then other than that, we just got some deals to underwrite, man. So that's predominantly what we do. I don't like to say side hustle because like, I don't like side hustles anymore. I like to put in everything I have into one thing, but I do still consult for some brands on the other side, which is still that J. Piercy Enterprises. So there's this local league here in Omaha called Los Pibes del Barrio. It's an amazing league here in Omaha. It's like the top competition here that I'm meeting with the owner with today to see if there's like some consulting opportunities within there. But those are the things we're working on, man. So those are the two major businesses. I mean, not major. Those are the two only businesses we have. We invest in indoor sports facilities, and then we consult for the brands.
Yeah, I'm curious about the indoor sports facilities. What's the angle with that? What are you trying to accomplish with them?
So the entire goal is a 10-year goal. This is a 10-year goal of building 200 indoor sports facilities. But like as you know, as Abraham always tells us, and Carl, like you don't start a business, right? Like we can tell, statistics tell us how much businesses fail. You actually want to buy into something that's profitable, that has management in place, so you can look at that business as a product itself, right? And so that's how we're starting. We're starting by acquisition, because this is the way that we can grow the fastest, right? And so first, through acquisitions, we're aiming to get at least 10 under our belt. And so we can start to really understand what it takes to have one of these, and more importantly, what it takes to start one of these up, right? Because then we'll be able to really tell, you know, the KPIs we have to track, the management that has to be in place, the things that are unrealistic or realistic. And so the end goal would be to build these 200 indoor sports facilities inside of places where I feel really, really, you know, close with. And these are places that suffer from gang or drug activity violence, right? So this story comes from, just to touch on it really quick, this story comes from like my background. Like I told you guys, we come from a place that's a really small community that has, you know, that's had its fair share of, you know, gang and drug violence around. And what had happened, even though it's only a 15-minute drive, 20-minute drive, which, you know, can be a long ass bike ride or a long ass walk. There's only 3, 4, I think. Like the fourth one, the public can't even use it, but there's only 3 indoor sports facilities here in Omaha, and they're not over here in the hood, right? So they're like 20 minutes away from us, 15 minutes away. Well, winter comes around, all we do in the summer is play. Like I told you, most of the stuff that we did, it involved soccer. It was either before soccer or it was after soccer. But in the winter, there was no soccer. So it was all the stuff before soccer and after soccer happening, but not the soccer anymore, right? And so like just, you know, when I had talked to you, Patrick, and I was like, yeah, you know, this is, I remember I called you. You were one of the people that I called, and I was like, yo, bro, like we need some more indoor sports facilities over here, man. Like this might be something that we can do and shit. That's when I was like, yeah, I want to build these indoor sports facilities. And yeah, just, you know, putting that equation together, like what comes first, the chicken or the egg, like what to focus on, right? The thing that made more sense to us was acquisition, growth through mergers and acquisitions, and then through there, do the startups.
Awesome. So by acquiring these facilities, you're going to learn how the businesses work, how they run, and what to do when you decide to ultimately construct your own.
Exactly.
I like it. That's awesome.
That was so well articulated, man.
That's awesome. So what are you looking for in a sports facility right now?
So we're looking for 10 years plus that it's been running. They don't have to be profitable all those 10 years, but for sure it has to be up for 10 years plus. It has to have management in place already. Like I said, we're investors. We don't want to be owner operators. We're not trying to be CEOs. We don't know how to run an indoor sports facilities. We don't have one right now, just to make that clear. But yeah, so maybe not put that in there. So if my sellers are watching this, they won't see that. But
okay, yeah. I'll cut that part.
No, it's fine. So yeah, we want to be investors, right? So we really want to look at this as like a product of ours. And so yeah, we're looking for 10 years. And so EBITDA wise, we're looking for north of 150,000. It's pretty small, but we had to tailor that from 500,000 down because most indoor sports facilities weren't making that much. So now we're looking for EBITDA, which people don't know that means. That's just like what you are able to use, right? So what the seller is able to use. We want to capture the profitability of that business. We can capture that through the EBITDA, right? Mm-hmm. So that's an acronym.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's 150. No, it's just 150. Those are the type of business we're looking for.
Okay. What were you going to ask, Patrick?
No, I was going to ask, well, I know that you're about to be a father. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And
man.
Also, I want to know, and I'm pretty sure a lot of the audience wants to know, if you're not doing any of the churro anymore, you're only having the notes. You're looking for this facility, which you still haven't yet got, and then you have a baby on the way. how are you managing all of this? How are you staying afloat, especially with a new person coming into your life and to your family? How
Staying
are you
afloat.
managing that, plus being able to continue finding the facility, you know?
Oh, like I said, man, just put my head down and work, bro. Like I don't have any expectations for anything really. Like the way that I see it is I have a vision and I'm more than willing to work for this vision, even like even if the vision isn't fulfilled within my lifetime, you know? So I measure myself on such a long scale. What it comes down for me when I think about staying afloat in terms of money though,
Yeah.
it's so much money management, bro. It's about how you're able to manage your money, right? I used to be a guy that like $20 would come in my pocket and leave the exact same day, right? But putting these systems, like, have you heard of Profit First? We have every single one of our bank accounts run through Profit First, right? And so we have so many envelopes that we're saving for and so many things that we'll set aside for and so many ways that will actually cut the cost of our living and just be able to like survive off of the bare minimum, regardless of how much we might have inside of a savings account. So being disciplined, man, I'll say that. It's being disciplined, it's having money management, and it's putting your head down and just saying like, you know what, I'm probably gonna have to be doing these things for the next 10 years, and that's okay. Like that's, you know, that's that hard work compounds. That's what really ultimately what we're looking for. We're not looking for anything that's short term. We're in long term games, you know. So that's how we stay afloat. We think long term.
Yeah, it's a get rich slow scheme. It's hard to set those targets so far out ahead, knowing that one day you'll get there. But you go through every day knowing that eventually you're going to get to the place you want to be.
Yeah. Like the way that I see it, a good way that I see it is like if you want to become an investor, if you want to become an entrepreneur, you have to be okay working extremely hard for an unidentified amount of time. That's it. Yeah. That's what you have to do. Like you don't know how hard you're going to be working for, but you just have to be able to get extremely uncomfortable for that amount of time, whatever it is.
And Shawnee's in it for the long haul then.
Oh,
she's gotten over it already.
Now, and this is like, you know, when things come aligned, when things like when you like, that's why I say hard work compounds, because it's like I was just talking about this morning. It's like, if you want to get around wealthy people, if you want to get around famous people, you just got to work hard, because when you work hard and it compounds to the things that will get you, you know, the things that you're working hard in, obviously working smart too. You know, I'm a work smart guy, you know, but when you're working hard in the smart way, this will compound and people will associate themselves more with you. You'll be able to leverage more things, you know, you'll have more friends and stuff. Sean, and you'll have bigger teams, right? It's hard to go through this stuff alone. It's hard to go through these things, paying all the idiot taxes yourself. No, thank you. Now that Shawnee's aligned to what we're doing, and now that like she has this mentality now, and this is really big thanks, bro, to investing and getting her out into these masterminds, or getting her out into like communities, or getting her out into meetups. Because when she had started talking to these people and she had started actually seeing people that were like her, which were women, because bro, like think about it. Like I would come back from these masterminds, I would come back fucking stoked, bro. Like I'm like, let's go. Like we're going to make $1 million this way. We're going to start calling people tomorrow. And like, she just got back from work. Like, she's like, you know, fucking chill, bro. Like what's going on and stuff. And so once I would like, that was kind of what had went in my head. I was like, let me take her. Maybe she'll get pumped. Maybe she'll get stoked, you know? And she did, bro. And so when she did, she had caught this idea, like really grasped the idea of just, I would just tell her like, look, you have to repeat this to yourself. Like, I'm willing to get into this battle for as long as it takes. I'm willing to get into this battle for as long as it takes. Once she got that, bro, right now, she's cold calling right now. Like as I'm talking. Okay. Yeah, she's cold calling right now. She's talking to sellers, or the sellers that we're talking to today. She's talking to them right now. There's not 1 second that, and I tell people this too, because of this, there's not 1 second that we're not enjoying working our entire life. We literally just work, bro. Like this is, and it's fun for us, bro. You know, going through the things that we're going through now, it's fun. And now, you know, at first it would be these heated arguments of like, you're stupid. No, you're stupid. Now it's like fun of like, hey, let's see if we can get to the end of this, because there, you know, there's people counting on us now. And so once you get to that point, bro, and you know, these people can get aligned, and this is like the same. This is why I think that scaling is like, you know, my forte, because I see it as like an art, right? Getting a team of people to be aligned to one vision, to do one thing, and making it all work as if like it's like some big machine, you know, like a machine that has insane amount of momentum. And so that's kind of like how we're at right now, bro. We have momentum, and that's like a result of alignment.
That's good.
And then hard work.
Yeah.
Gotta get the ball rolling, you know.
Yeah. So you guys come back from the meetups. Yeah, we're gonna make this money.
Yeah. Now we come back from the meetups together like that, bro. Actually, now like there'll be times like I'll be surprised. Like we had just went to Tampa for the Dealmaker weekend, and she was like that. Like she was like, "What the fuck are you doing laying down? Get your ass up! Like we're going to cold call. We're going to do this. We're going to email these people. We need to go." She was actually the person who, like was pumped that last meeting. So yeah, it's been good, bro.
That's good, man.
Yeah, and for our listeners that haven't been to anything like that, it's crazy how addicting it is being around, like being in a room full of 2,000 people that are trying to do the exact same thing you are, or in a mastermind with 20 other people that are all operating at a high level. It's like addicting, and you want to be around that. And we talk, Patrick and I talk about a lot about like the 5 people that you are spending the most time with. And you go look around those rooms at a mastermind. And if you're somebody like me, like you see that like, I'm not normally in the right room with the right 5 people. Like you got to change who's around you if you want to change your circumstances, because when you're with the right 5 people, like the other 4 or 5 people aren't going to want you to fail.
Exactly.
And it's just an addicting feeling. And it's easy to get pumped up after going to something like that at a seminar or even just a meetup for 2 hours somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just easy to get excited about it, to be around other people that are operating at a high level.
Yeah.
And I got to add to that. Some people don't understand this. They don't understand that feeling. They don't understand what we're trying to do, because they're not trying to do any of that. Right.
Yeah.
They're on their little path of not, trying to grow in any type of way, shape, or form. But, sometimes I get, well, why are you buying these courses? Why are you going over here? Why are you going over there? Spending all this money, you're just making other people rich. They're just giving you and fueling your brain with this, like, I guess this feeling that you can make it, and trying to fill you with confidence to buy all this crap from them. And you're making them rich. But where I'm like, it hasn't came yet. There's a process, man. It's just not instantaneous.
No, yeah, it's a process.
Yeah, if it were easy, everyone would do it.
Exactly. Yeah. But it was good to have you on, man.
Yeah, this was great. This is a powerful way to end. I really like that.
Thank you.